Okay, chapter 3. George begins to make a medicine. George took an enormous saucepan out of the cupboard and placed it on the kitchen table. "George!" came a shrill voice from next door. "What are you doing?" "Nothing, Grandma," he called out. "You needn't think I can't hear you just because you've closed the door," she said. "You're rattling saucepans." "I'm just tidying the kitchen, Grandma." Then there was silence. George had absolutely no doubts whatsoever about going to make his famous medicine. He wasn't going to fool about wondering whether to put in a little bit of this or a little bit of that. He quite simply was going to put in everything. There would be no messing around, no hesitation, no wondering whether a particular thing would knock the old girl sideways or not. The rule would be this: whatever he saw, if it was runny, powdery or gooey, then in it went. Nobody ever made a medicine like that before, and if it didn't actually cure Grandma, then it would anyway cause some exciting results. It would still be worth watching. George decided to work his way around the various different rooms, one at a time, to see what they had on offer. He would go first to the bathroom, so upstairs he went, carrying the enormous two-handled saucepan with him. In the bathroom, he gazed longingly at the famous and dreaded medicine cupboard, but he didn't go near it. It was the only thing in the entire house that he was forbidden to touch. He had made solemn promises to his parents about this, and he wasn't going to break them. There were things in there, he'd been told, that could kill somebody. And although he was about to give Grandma a pretty fiery mouthful, he didn't really want a dead body on his hands. George put the saucepan on the floor and went to work. Number 1 was a bottle named Golden Gloss Hair Shampoo. He emptied it into the pan. "That ought to wash her tummy nice and clean," he said. Then he took a full tube of toothpaste and he squeezed out the whole lot in one long worm. "Maybe that'll brighten up those horrid brown teeth of hers," he said. Next was an aerosol. Next was an aerosol can of super foam shaving soap, which belonged to his father. George loved playing with aerosols. He pressed the button and kept his finger on there until there was nothing left. A wonderful mountain of white foam.
Coffee.
Hi guys. A wonderful mountain of white foam built up in the giant saucepan. With his fingers, he next scooped out the jar of a vitamin-enriched face cream. In went a small bottle of scarlet nail varnish. "If the toothpaste didn't clean her teeth," George said, "then this will paint them as red as roses." He found another jar of creamy stuff, labelled hair remover. "Smear it on your legs," it said. George tipped it all into the saucepan. "Allow it to remain for 5 minutes. There was a bottle with some yellow stuff inside, labelled Dishworth's Famous Dandruff Cure. In it went. There was also something called Brilliant for Cleaning False Teeth. That was a white powder, and in that went too. Another aerosol can. "Nevermore Ponking Deodorant Spray, guaranteed," it said, "to keep away unpleasant body smells for a whole day. She could use plenty of that, George said, and he sprayed the entire can into the saucepan. Liquid paraffin, the next one was called. It was a big bottle, and he didn't have the faintest idea what it did to you, but he poured it in anyway. That, he thought, looking around him, was about it from the bathroom. On his mother's dressing table in the bedroom, George found yet another aerosol can. It was called Helga's Hair Set. Hold 12 inches away from the hair and spray lightly. He squirted the whole lot into the saucepan. He did enjoy squirting those aerosols. There was a bottle of perfume called Flower of Turnips. It smelt of old cheese, but in it went. He also found a couple of lipsticks. He pulled the greasy red things out of their little cases and added them to the mixture. In too went a large round box of powder. It was called Pink Plaster, and there was a powder puff on top, so we threw that in as well for luck. The bedroom had nothing more to offer, so George carried the enormous saucepan downstairs, and trotted into the laundry room, where shelves were full of all sorts of household items. First thing he took down was a box of super white for automatic washing machines. Dirt, as it said, will disappear like magic. George didn't know whether Grandma was automatic or not, but she was certainly a dirty old woman, so she'd better have it all, he said, tipping in the whole box full. Then there was a big tin of Waxwell floor polish. It removes filth and foul messes from the floor and leaves everything shiny bright. George scooped the stuff out of the bottle and plonked it into the pan. There was another bottle called flea powder for dogs. Keep well away from dogs' food, it said, because this powder, if eaten, will make the dog explode. Good, thought George, pouring it all into the saucepan. He found a bag of canary seed up on the shelf. Perhaps that'll make the old bird sing, he said, and in it went. Next, George explored the box with the shoe cleaning materials, brushes and tins and dusters. Well now, he thought, Grandma's medicine is brown, so my medicine must also be brown, or she'll smell a rat. The way to colour it, he decided, would be with some brown shoe polish. The large tin he chose was labelled dark tan. Splendid! He scooped it all out with an old spoon and plopped it into the pan. He'd stir it up later. On his way back to the kitchen, George saw a large bottle of gin standing on the sideboard. Grandma was very fond of gin. She was allowed to have a small nip of it every evening. Now he'd give her a treat. He would pour in the whole bottle. And he did. Back in the kitchen, George put the huge saucepan up onto the table and went over to the cupboard that served as the larder. The shelves were bulging with bottles and jars of every sort. He chose the following and emptied them out one by one into the saucepan. A tin of curry powder, a tin of mustard, a bottle of extra hot chili sauce, a tin of black peppercorns, and some horseradish sauce. There, he said aloud, that should do it. George! Came the screechy voice from the next room. Who are you talking to in there? What are you up to? Nothing, Grandma, absolutely nothing, he called back. Is it time for my medicine yet? No, Grandma, not for about a half hour. Well, just you see you don't forget it. I won't, Grandma, George answered. I promise I won't.